you and I both agree we should not go into Iran. But now, because of Donald Trump's actions, you have now flipped on Donald Trump. So you said the other day that you regret voting for Donald Trump. You stick by that? Do you regret it? And you said you went as far as saying impeached. You still believe that today? And why?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, look,
In this video, Dave Smith turns on Trump during this brutal debate with Cenk Uygur. So this one's kind of wild. Dave Smith, yeah, the same libertarian who's defended Trump more times than we can count, basically just pulls a full 180 while talking to Cenk Uygur. And it's not just some soft pivot, like, oh, maybe Trump made a mistake. No, he's straight up calling for impeachment over Trump's handling of Iran, and even talks about rallying MAGA figures against Trump's war moves. What's crazier is that this isn't even coming from a leftist. It's coming from a guy who used to proudly wear the Trump 2016 vote. And yet here he is, echoing progressive anti-war positions hard, calling it catastrophic, urging accountability, and even supporting Cenk's grassroots campaign to punish war voters in both parties. So make sure to watch till the end to see how Dave Smith turns on Trump during this brutal debate with Cenk Uygur.
at this point, look, Cenk, with a lot of these things, what do I have? I don't have any power over actual government policy, but I have a little bit of an audience, and then I have an influence on some people who have audiences, and so I can have a little bit of influence on a broader conversation. And what else can you do when the president of the United States is leading us into the most disastrous policy imaginable, and I'm on record having supported the guy? What can I say other than, yeah, I shouldn't have done that, and this is terrible, and let me try in my little part to rally as many people that I can to give pushback to this, and not due to my influence, but just in a very good turn of events, and because some people have shown real integrity, and also because I think there's a certain desire amongst the people. But we've seen a lot of very influential MAGA figures really say that they will not put up with this and they will not support this. And I think that's something that should be celebrated by everybody who is against the absolute catastrophe that a further escalating war in Iran would be. And look, it's not as if Donald Trump doesn't have to run for re-election. He does have midterms coming up, and he does need his coalition to some degree in order to get his agenda through. But the only thing that many of us can do at this point is try our best to create a situation where there will be a cost to be paid for him doing this. And so I think that it's been pretty clear. I mean, look, it's pretty remarkable. Forget me, but like figures like Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk are all out there right now saying, you will destroy your coalition if you do this. You will absolutely split MAGA into a civil war against each other. And so that is, if you think about it in the game of politics, a huge cost to be imposed on somebody. And so right in this very prescient moment, the fact that that cost is being imposed, I think is a great thing. And if I can play any part in that, then I'm happy to do it. And also, Cenk, as something that I think me and you kind of have in common, I don't know, man, when I get on these shows and I start talking, I'm just gonna say what I think is true, And so, I didn't even like really plan out that I was gonna say on Breaking Points the other day, like, I regret supporting him and he should be impeached or whatever. It was just like, I kind of knew it might happen because that's how I felt. But then I just started talking to Sager and Crystal, and that's how I feel.
Okay, so like this is where things get really interesting. Dave basically goes on this long, totally unscripted, honest tangent on admitting he messed up on supporting Trump. And not in a wishy-washy, oh, mistakes were made kind of way. He just straight up says, this is terrible and I'm trying to undo the damage I helped cause. And you know what? That's huge. Especially coming from someone who's been in the libertarian echo chamber for years. He doesn't just say, I regret it. He talks about building pressure, about how MAGA figures are already revolting against Trump's push for war. He name drops Tucker, Bannon, Charlie Kirk, all saying don't do this. And that's not nothing. That's a legit split happening inside the right. And Dave's not hiding from it. He's owning it hard. And the most genuine part here is that little moment where he's like, I didn't even plan to say I regret it on breaking points. It just came out. And that's how you know he means it. Not trying to just score points, not putting on a brand, just calling it what it is, a disaster.
And why should he be impeached and removed? I mean, come on. It's so obvious. I mean, he's like essentially saying, and I don't know what the real story is here because there's conflicting reports, but it doesn't matter because he's saying it either way, that he was negotiating with Iran to succor them, to distract them so Israel could launch a sneak Pearl Harbor attack, a completely illegal, aggressive attack against a sovereign nation. Come on. Now you're gonna impeach somebody over a phone call with Zelensky where he maybe, tried to suggest that there should be a quid pro quo, which he never even got, and then caved, never even got the investigation on Biden and still sent the weapons package in anyway. That's impeachable. January 6th is impeachable, but leading us into the 7th absolutely disastrous regime change war of choice on behalf of a foreign nation. I mean, I don't know. Cenk, I've heard it said before, I don't know remember who coined the phrase, but an impeachable offense is anything the Congress decides. Well, okay. Well, if our Congress wasn't a bunch of, hack, corrupt, blood-soaked monsters, this seems like maybe something they should pick. Maybe this should be the thing that you impeach a president over.
Yeah.
Worse than having an affair and lying about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, unquestionable about that. So let's see if we can unite the country against this war. We're starting with progressives and libertarians here, right? So Dave, I came up with an idea. I'm gonna run it by you. You're the first person I'm running it by. Let's see if we can get agreement on it and see what we can do going forward, right? The idea is called Operation Consequences. And so the first step was going to be having us pick champions for our side and have them introduce the War Power Resolution Act, right? And good news, since there are champions, they already did it without us asking, okay? Yeah. So my guess is you would have picked Thomas Massie. I would have picked Bernie Sanders, and Thomas Massie and Bernie Sanders have introduced legislation to bring the power of war back to Congress, which is where the Constitution has it, right? So let's get back to our constitutional system. Let's get back to war. So step one's already done because that's what champions are made of, right? So, okay, step two is a pledge that if anybody votes yes on this resolution, that we never vote for them again, ever, 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 okay? You can tell me you're great on every other issue and I could really like you, but you vote yes on this war and we're done with you forever. What do you think?
100%, yes.
Okay, so we set up a site, it's like, it just directs back to a pledge. We're gonna do more and more as we go along, but the pledge is to never vote for anyone who voted yes on this war. And it's called unitedagainstwar.com, and we'll have the link down below, unitedagainstwar.com, okay?
So this is where Dave just goes full scorched earth on Trump. Like he straight up accuses Trump of backing a bait and switch Pearl Harbor style assault so Israel could launch an illegal strike on Iran. And what makes it harder is Dave isn't speculating about intel. He's calling out the intent, the actual statements Trump made, and how absurd it is that this wouldn't be considered impeachable. He's like, you impeached over a phone call? Over a half-baked quid pro quo that didn't even work, but not this? And that's the whole core of the rant. It's not just about Trump. It's about the total collapse of accountability in US foreign exchange policy. Congress doesn't act, the media just shrugs, and the president just goes rogue again and again. Then Cenk jumps in, and I gotta say, his Operation Consequences thing is actually kind of based. He's like, screw partisanship. Let's build a coalition that punishes anyone, Democrat or Republican, who votes for this war. And Dave, he's all in, no hesitation, just immediate 100% yes.
So now, here's the reason to do a pledge. If it turns out, Dave, that it's just me and you, and we ask, our audience, you ask your audience, I'm part of the problem. We both talk about it in all the shows we go on, but we just can't get to like 1 million people that sign the pledge. People aren't gonna take it seriously. 12,000 people, that's nice, but it's not gonna work, right? And maybe, Dave, what we wind up doing is, Al Capone's vault here. Like, you remember Geraldo made a big deal about it, hyped it up, and then it turns out there wasn't anything in it, right? But if you get to 1 million or 2 million voters who say they will never vote for someone who votes for this war, or you get to 5 million, Now all of a sudden a little bit of concern starts to creep in, and mainstream media starts to go, who are these rabble rousers? And how dare they be against this war? So now I'm gonna get to the next steps in a second, but a mass of people promising like a new voting bloc, totally divorced from the parties. And this is really important. Dave, what I'm saying is do it in your primaries. So nobody's doing unilateral surrender to the other side, right? So if a Democrat votes for this war, you must go vote in a primary against them, right? And if a Republican votes for this war, same thing, go in a Republican primary and vote against them. Does that part make sense?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so now, the most important part is the actual accountability, right? And that has two phases. So first part of the accountability is, I hope we get volunteers. We do Operation Hope, tyt.com/hope, but you can volunteer in any way, shape, or form. You don't have to volunteer, you can just do it on your own, right? Find your local congressman, find your senator, and just ask them, right? You'd be shocked at how easy it is. Just Google it, find out who they are, email or phone, and ask them, are you in favor of the War Powers Resolution? And Dave, what's great about this resolution is the president can't veto it. It's a congressional power in the Constitution, right? And they must vote on it in 15 days. So it sits in committee usually for 15 days, and it's a privileged bill. So it's gonna get a vote, and everyone's gonna go on the record. That is why pressuring people to, and basically what you're doing, Dave, is a public service announcement to your members of Congress, to your representatives. Hey guys, just know that if you vote yes, we're gonna vote against you the rest of our lives. I'm just letting you know, you can do whatever you want with that information. I know you're gonna get a check. I know you're gonna get a check from AIPAC to vote yes, right? But it's gonna cost you this number of votes. Again, does that seem logical to you?
Yeah, of course. All of this is the most obvious and logical stuff. I'm thrilled that you're putting it together like this.
So yeah, this wasn't just a kumbaya moment. Cenk laid out a real plan to hold warmongers accountable. And Dave backed it fully, no tribal excuses, just straight up consequences if you vote for war. And honestly, the only reason this kind of thing isn't already massive is because the media never gives it oxygen. They bury cross-partisan efforts like this because it messes with their wartime narratives. And when the system's rigged to ignore this kind of unity, that's not apathy, that's just bias. And speaking of biases, are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.